podcast 3 of a series of 4-link podcasts introducing the revision schedule. This third podcast focuses in on past questions. Quick word about past questions, and I mention this frequently in revision sessions. This applies to all subjects, not just history. It's probably one of the most important pieces of advice I can give you. When you revise to the past questions. Don't revise from a textbook or from your notes. That's not to say you don't have your notes in front of you, but bottom line is you're preparing to sit an exam in which you have to answer questions. And the best form of preparation is to work your way through past questions, question by question, and ask yourself, how would I answer that question if it appeared on the exam paper this summer? And if you practice writing an answer, planning an answer for every single question that's been set over the past few years, then you will be absolutely well set up for the final examination, because in the final examination the questions that appear will be pretty much identical to questions that have appeared in past papers over the past few years. So make sure you go through all those past questions and cover yourself, and if there's one question that you don't do, and because you're not sure about it, it's a difficult question, and you ignore that question, you know what will happen. That question will appear on the exam paper in summer 2016, and you don't want that to happen. So effectively, past questions are a checklist for you, and you've got to work your way through those past questions. Know the structure of the exam paper. There are, as you can see, you have to answer question 1, 4 marks, question 2, 9 marks, etc. Either question 3 or 4, either question 5A and 5B, or 6A and 6B. And what's very important is the timing, and I'll talk about that frequently in the revision sessions. But basically, it is 1.5 minutes per mark. So 4 marks is 6 minutes, 9 marks is 13 minutes, and so on and so forth. You must get the timing right. What traditionally happens with students in the exam is by the time you get to the last question, which carries the most marks, part A is 9 and part B is 16, plus an additional 4 for quality of written communication. If you just go over slightly on questions 1, 2 and 3, then effectively you're eating into the valuable time you need for questions 5, the essay questions, where you do either question 5 or question 6. So practice the timing, practice writing as many answers as possible, and get to the timing. Question 1 is the very straightforward setup question where you're given a source and you're asked what can you learn from the source. It's very different from the rest of the paper. In the sense that you're not really required to use your own knowledge as such in question 1, whereas questions 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 are completely about your knowledge. What do you do? And in the time you've got available, you've got to show how much you know. So we'll do a lot of work on looking at past questions in the revision sessions. So that's the structure of the exam paper. Now, the past questions, you can pause this podcast at any point, plus also the slideshow that I'm showing you in this podcast and in all the other podcasts is in Frog in that folder called Introduction. Okay, so you can go back to the folder. You don't need to keep replaying this podcast. But basically, what I've done for you is I've trawled through all those past papers and I've grouped all the questions for you together, and first of all I've grouped them by question. Okay, so all the question 1s together, all the question 2s together. So those are all the past question 1s, and you can see at the end of each question I've signposted you to which examination paper. And remember, you've got those 3 folders: past papers, mark schemes and chief examiner's reports. So you can go and look at those questions and look at the mark schemes and look at what the examiner said about how candidates answered those questions in previous years. So there's all the question 1s, which are worth 4 marks, 6 minutes. Those are all the question 2s, 9 marks, 13 minutes. Those are all the question well, carrying on, more of them. Incidentally, these go up to 2014. Okay, so they're in order, and the last one will always be the summer of 2014. The summer 2015 paper is not listed. Okay, that will be added to the folder at a later stage in the year. Those are all the questions 3 and 4. Carrying on. Okay, so up to June 2014. Now those we're very much moving into short essays here, 12 marks, 18 minutes. And then you move into the bigger essays. Now you choose either question 5 or question 6, and whichever one you choose, you do part A and then part B. And part A is worth 9 minutes. So these are the 9, part A is 9 marks, worth 13 minutes. So they're listed there. As you can see, they all begin with the word describe. So the part A of question 5 or 6 is very much just tell us what you know in as much precise detail as possible. Carrying on. That's down to June 2014. And then you've got the big essay question, which is the part B, 5B and 6B. Okay, so again, remember, you choose either 5 or 6, and within that you do A and B. And these are worth 16 marks. Now 16 marks is 25 minutes. It's effectively a third of the time you have on the paper. The whole paper is 1 hour 15 minutes. So you're writing a proper essay in this time, and you need that full 25 minutes, because remember, with this one you also get the bonus, the additional 4 marks for quality of written communication. So the format of these is you're given a quote. Use this one, the use of propaganda was the main reason for the lack of opposition to Nazi rule, and you're asked, do you agree, which basically means you're going to write a balanced answer. You're going to look at the arguments to support that proposition to say, yes, I do agree, in some ways that's correct, and then you're going to balance it out by looking at the counter argument. The argument says, actually, to some extent that's not completely true, there were other factors, but I'll do more about that in the Model Answer podcasts. There they are, continuing, and onto a third slide down to June 2014. So there's your checklist. They're grouped by question type. Now what I've done is I've taken exactly the same questions and I've regrouped them for you by topic. So all questions on similar topics are together in one place with podcast links. So, for example, the first topic, which is what we're doing this Friday, the early years of the Weimar Republic and the Nazi Party 1919 to 23. Here are all the questions from past papers on that particular topic. So within this, you've got a mixture of question 1s, question 2s, question 3s, and you can tell that by looking at the end of each question. So you look at the first one, choose one of the following terms of the Treaty of Versailles. That's January 2013. That's the question 2, which is worth 9 marks. Okay, so they're all listed together in one place. Now, most importantly, what you've got here is you've got it tells you if I have made a podcast on how to answer that question. If it says see podcast, then basically there is a podcast on my YouTube channel where I have written the answer for you, and I, in that podcast, will walk and talk you through that answer and why it is a good answer, so that you know how to structure that answer if a similar question appears in the exam in 2016. Now, for this first topic area, the early years of the Weimar Republic, as you can see, I've done podcasts for 4 questions. I haven't done podcasts for every single one. Why not? Well, to a large extent, the questions are, they repeat themselves. Some questions are very similar. I've selected 4 podcasts that I feel between them cover the typical range of questions on that topic. Secondly, it's a question of my own time. But over the next few months, I will try to do more podcasts, and if I do more podcasts, I'll update these lists for you. Now, You can't do it on this version here, but over the 10 weeks I will give you duplicates of these pages that you're looking at, and where it says see podcast with a box around it, okay, that will be a hyperlink. So you can click directly onto the link and it will take you directly to the podcast. So I'll make it as easy as possible for you to access signposting you to the podcast so you can get straight to them. So there's section B, difficult years for the Nazi Party, Great Depression and the rise of the Nazis, turning the chancellorship into a dictatorship. So you can see how many podcasts there are, lots and lots of them, each podcast walking and talking you through an answer to that question, and the answers are available in the folders, or they will be available in the folders for you to download as well, okay, but the podcasts walk and talk you through those. Nazi government and control, Nazi economic policies, Nazi family and racial policies. So a huge range of podcasts only available to you. They're on my YouTube channel, but the links to those podcasts are only shared with you, students from our school. So you really are in a very, very strong position. The fact I've made these podcasts for you. You play all those podcasts, go through all those podcasts, learn those answers off by heart. You will be absolutely well set up for the examination in the summer. So I really can't emphasise the importance of the podcasts strongly enough. That's the end of this third podcast that takes you through past papers. The fourth podcast goes straight on to it, just gives you a little bit of introduction for the first proper revision session, which will be after school on Friday. Thank you.